I now recognize Mr. Alford from the great state of Missouri for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not from Minnesota, but another M state, Missouri. Good to have you with us. I have the honor of representing Missouri's 4th Congressional District, largely rural, 24 counties in the heart of Missouri, in the heart of America. Right now, 15 federal agencies with more than 100 different programs have been working to try to make sure that every American has access to broadband. Despite this, I meet folks each and every time I'm back in the district, and they ask me one thing: when are we getting broadband? Farmers cannot use modern technology. Families cannot access telemedicine. Small businesses are not willing to relocate to rural areas because they don't have the tools necessary to conduct small business in 2025. Many of my constituents lack the rural broadband, about 70,000 families. That's a lot. And this is despite billions of dollars being spent on attempts to expand rural broadband, including the most recent tranche of $42 billion from the Biden administration's Infrastructure and Jobs Act. It is unacceptable, in my opinion, that 7 million homes and businesses, primarily in rural areas like central Missouri, still lack access to rural broadband. Ms. Westbrook, thank you for being here today. Billions of taxpayer dollars, as we've said, have already been spent on broadband expansion, and yet rural communities still do not have adequate access. Why is that?
Well, I will give you my professional opinion on that. I believe that the reason that they don't have access yet is because the way certain programs have been administered, that the programs have given money to companies that don't follow through on the work that they say they're going to do, or they take shortcuts. They don't put in the robust connections that should be put in, and then they're lacking that connectivity still in rural America. And we see it over and over with large corporations that say X and they don't do X. And that's very concerning when you live in small rural communities and you hear that often.
Are there any consequences to that lack of fulfillment for what they are really charged with doing with the federal government's money?
I am unaware of any.
Mr. Todd, you're the CEO of Next Tech, a company bringing fiber to rural communities in nearby Kansas. Given your advocacy for broadband funding reform, what legislative or regulatory burden do you believe most slows deployment in areas like my district?
Thank you for the question. And I would say what would slow things down is generally the permitting process. As you know, there are different levels of permitting and right-of-way access that must be navigated. You've got different programs within the federal government which are not in sync, but you also have state and county and municipality codes that you have to work with. All of those can present delays in getting the permitting necessary to build out a project. That leads to delays and increased cost, unfortunately.
As I stated, more than 100 programs have been set up to try to get rural broadband to everyone. Can you explain how a streamlined effort could help providers and their customers in rural communities? I assume some of this would be overcoming some of these regulations that are stifling the growth of expansion.
I believe consistency would simplify things. Streamlining and consistency would make a difference. When a different program follows different rules and how you approach not only presenting a project, but being approved and then acting on it, then that creates complications. So uniformity and consistency would be a great help.
Mr. Werf, we have 1 minute left. There are thousands of folks just like you in my district who are forced to adapt and attempt to run their small businesses without full access to broadband. How has this lack of access to broadband, how has that affected your business?
Thank you for the question. We've been fortunate so far that we've been able to locate facilities and locate people in areas where we have access to at least something as far as broadband goes. But an overarching part of this conversation is not just broadband, but cellular access. Because oftentimes, for example, our billing and software and everything for our ag retail facilities, those orders are all taken on iPads. So either it's a hotspot or cellular connectivity, but the software itself is based in Illinois and operates all on cloud. So we can't can't operate without high-speed, reliable internet. And so occasionally that forces us to reconsider where we want to locate a facility.
Thank you. Thank you all for your answers and for being here today, and I yield back, Chair.